The source of thought is memory. Memory is knowledge. Knowledge is experience. That's a fact. And so the source of thought is experience. Whether your experience or thousands of years of experience, which is stored up in the brain as knowledge. Therefore, thought is a material process. Matter. Anything that thought creates is matter. Your gods are matter. I know you don't like that. There is nothing sacred in thought as created. It's the mind that is beyond thought, beyond time, that it knows what it is to be sacred.
There is process. There is the flow of thought. And the flow of thought doesn't have to happen to anyone. Experience does not have to beat upon an experiencer. There is all the time simply the one stream going on, and we are convinced that we stand aside from it and observe it, because we've been brought up that way. But you know, in your stream of thought and experience, I am an object, and a very fleeting and passing one. And consequently also in my stream of experience, you also are people who come and go. We are all, you see, living in the same world. We think there is me and there is an external world round me, but I am in your external world and you are in my external world. And if you think about that, you see we are all in one world, going along together. There isn't really the internal and the external. There is simply the process.
And planet is spinning on time.
Yes.
You don't think it's good? No accidents in the solar system, one planet did not clash into another, all are sticking to their lanes. In the entire universe, not a single accident, everything is going fantastic in the universe and in the larger cosmos. But one nasty little thought is crawling in your head and it's a bad day. Everything in the cosmos is going great. One nasty little thought, it's a bad day, isn't it? The problem is we have lost perspective as to who we are. In this cosmos, this solar system is a speck. Yes or no?
Yeah.
It's like a speck. Tomorrow morning if the entire solar system evaporates, nobody will notice it. In that speck, planet Earth is a micro speck. In that micro speck, Los Angeles is a super micro speck. In that, you are a big man. That's a serious problem. This is your psychological drama, exaggerating things to a point where you think if you have one bad thought, the whole world is ruined. Because we've gotten identified with the thoughts that we generate, with the emotions that we create, not understanding it's our prerogative to create the kind of thought we want, the kind of emotion we want.
So what is thinking? I'm asking you. What is thinking? You do that all day long, right? When you go to the office, when you go to the temple, when you talk, when you are destructive, but what is thinking? Oh, sir. Have you ever even thought about what he's thinking? What is the movement of thought? Let's begin slowly. This is the last question. It's 9:15. Huh? Yes. Good Lord. We've been an hour and a quarter here. I'm sorry. Now what is thinking? Not what to think, not what to think about, not what thought should do or not do, but we are asking what is thinking itself. You think if you are a businessman in one way, you think as a lawyer in another way, engineer, a computer expert, right? You think in these ways, but we are asking what is thinking itself? If one is asked your name, you reply instantly. There is no hesitation. Hesitation being time interval. Please just follow this for a little bit. When you are familiar with something, there is no activity of thought. There is instant response. You know this, the house you live in, the street you go by, that is familiarity, constant repetition as your name. There is instant response. That response has been immediate because there has been past repetition. My name is so-and-so. I've been called that name since I was a small boy, and I repeat it, and when you ask what my name is, out it comes. Then, if one asks a more complicated question, very complicated question, which is what is the distance between here and London? You hesitate, you have read about it somewhere, or you begin to inquire what's the distance. So the time interval between the question and the answer, during that interval, there is the operation of thinking. Right? That is asking somebody, reading about it, looking to be whether it's exact and so on. That is, the operation of thinking is going on, searching. Then there's the reply. That is, between the question and the answer, there is a time interval. In that time interval, there is the movement of thought. Right? Now, if one is asked a question which is for which you have no answer, which means you are not looking, you are not waiting for to be told, you are not searching, asking. You said, I don't know. When you say, I don't know, actually I don't know what has happened to the quality of thinking. You're following this? Please, sir, do it with me. When you actually say, I don't know, and you mean it, not say, well, I'll find out, I'm waiting for an answer, I'm doing this, but when you are absolutely clear that you don't know, what happens to the movement of thought? Go on, sir, tell me what happens. Oh, for God's sake. The activity of thought comes to an end for them. Which means, follow it, sir, slowly, follow it carefully. Which means, the brain is no longer seeking, asking, searching, tentatively feeling out. It is absolutely quiet because it doesn't know. Right? Do you see this? So is your mind, is your brain ever in a state of not knowing about anything? Or your brain is always full of knowledge? It follows. You're following all this. Which is, your brain is occupied. Occupied with your, what you are doing, how you will tell this, quarrels with your wife, husband, business, churning. That churning process, the chattering, whether it's business chattering, whether it's social gossip, whether you're physicist gossip, you follow? The whole of that is the act, the movement of thought. Acquiring more and more knowledge and responding from that knowledge, thought, action. And so our brain is full of occupation. Which is so, you can see it. It's only when you say, I really don't know, that's a very frightening state for most people. Because we are also vain, conceited, arrogant. We are so full of other people's knowledge. We're second-hand people. It's only the mind that brain that says, I don't know. You understand the beauty of it, sirs? Such a brain is a quiet brain because it's totally unoccupied. It occupies when necessary, but otherwise absolutely in a state of not knowing. You understand it? Now, thought is, the source of thought is memory. Memory is knowledge. Knowledge is experience. That's a fact. And so the source of thought is experience. Whether your experience or thousands of years of experience, which is stored up in the brain as knowledge. Therefore, thought is a material process. matter. Anything that thought creates is matter. Your gods are matter. I know you don't like that. There is nothing sacred in thought as created. It's the mind that is beyond thought, beyond time, that it knows what it is to be sacred. That's it.
When you are perfectly free to feel stuck or not stuck, then you're unstuck. Because actually, nothing can stick on the real mind, and you will find this out if you watch the flow of your thoughts. There is an expression in Chinese which means the flow of thoughts, or what we call in literary criticism, stream of consciousness. And they put the character for thought 3 times. Nyan, nyan, nyan. And so you will notice that thought follows thought follows thought when you are just ruminating. And those thoughts arise and go like waves on the water. All the time, they come and go. And when they go, they are as if they had never been here. So actually, this shows your mind doesn't stick. Really. You can get the illusion of it sticking by, for example, cycling the same succession of thoughts over and over again. And that gives a sense of permanence in the same way as when you revolve a cigarette butt in the dark. You get the illusion of there being a solid circle, although there is only the single point of fire. And it is from this connecting of thoughts that we get the sensation that behind our thoughts there is a thinker who controls them and experiences them. Although the notion that there is a thinker is just one member in the stream of thoughts. For example, if you get a certain kind of rhythm that goes diggy 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 boop, diggy 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 boop, diggy 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 boop, diggy 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 boop, the boop is part of the rhythm, but it can be used as a cue. So you get, in relation to diggy 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 boop, you get thought, 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 thinker, thought, 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 thinker. And if this happens regularly enough and long enough, you get the illusion of there being someone who thinks, apart from the stream of thoughts which come and go, the stream of experiences. And we use such absurd phrases, not only as thinking our thoughts, but feeling our feelings, seeing sights and hearing sounds. But you must understand, it is perfectly obvious that seeing a sight is seeing, hearing a sound is hearing, feeling a feeling is feeling. So in the same way, thinking a thought is thinking. But you get split-minded, you see, and so you get I and me, and the I who ought to or must control me, as a sensation of some real entity that stands aside from thoughts and chooses among them, controls them, regulates them, and so on. Actually, this is a way to have one's thoughts not controlled. The more there is this duality of the separate thinker standing aside from the thoughts, or the separate feeler watching or feeling the feelings, the more the stream of feelings is coaxed into self-protective activity, into getting more and more like a stuck record, the purposes of which are to protect and to aggrandize and enlarge the status of the supposed thinker. When Joshu, who was a Tang Dynasty Zen master, was asked, he had made some reference to the enlightened mind being like a mind of a child. And he said, well, what is the mind of a child? And he said, a ball in a mountain stream. Why? Thought follows thought instantaneously without interruption. So the saying, walk or sit as you will, but whatever you do, don't wobble. Now, we can see this very clearly from confusions we can get into in activity. I have just said we can see this very clearly from confusions we get into in activity. What kind of a statement is that? When I raise the question, what kind of a statement was it that I just made, I'm beginning to talk about talking. And one can do that, provided you don't try to do it while you're making the original statement. If I want to say something about what I've just said, then I must do it later, mustn't I? But not at the same time. I cannot say you are a fool, and at the same time say, I'm giving you an insult in so many words. I cannot say, or in mathematics, I cannot write down a certain equation, and as I'm writing it down, simultaneously state what kind of an equation this is. Unless, of course, I invent an exceedingly complex language which talks about itself as it goes along. But in the ordinary way, people get completely mixed up by that. In the middle of being about to say to somebody anything, you start to think about whether this is the right thing to say, and you start wobbling. You get, in other words, too much feedback. And too much feedback makes any mechanism go crazy. So in the same way, when you are very, very aware of a difference between the deeds and the doer while doing the deeds is always sort of commenting on them, the doer never really gets with it. In other words, you are about to strike a nail, and you wonder, as you are about to hit it, is this the right place to put it? And so you probably hit your thumbnail instead of the nail, because you don't go right through with hitting that nail. This is not saying, let me mark this again, it is not saying that there should be no criticism of thought. But if you criticize thought while thinking, as if there were a critic thinker standing aside from the stream of thought, then you get all balled up. And that is exactly what happens in the process of attachment, or what are called in Buddhist klesha, which mean disturbing confusions of the mind. And you see, this kind of confusion is something to which the human organism is peculiarly liable, because the human organism has language, you see, thinking is silent language. And I mean language in the most inclusive sense of the word, not only words, but also images and numbers, notation. Just because then we can talk about anything, we can talk about talking, we can talk about thinking, we can talk about ourselves, as if we could stand aside and say, said I to myself, said I. All we are actually doing is making a second thought, or thought stream, which comments on the one that went before, and then pretending that the second stream is a different stream than the first. That's because there are built into our minds all kinds of phony images about memory. We think, for example, of memory by analogy with engraving. In order to remember something, we write it down. And so we have a flat and stable piece of paper, and we make marks on it with a pencil, and they stay there. So we begin to think, is mental memory something of the same kind? Is there something stable upon which the passage of thoughts makes an impression? We say, he impressed me very much. This was a lasting impression on my mind. As if we were tablets. Indeed, the philosopher Locke used the expression tabula rasa, or clean slate, to describe the mind of a child. This is a mind which has not yet collected any memories, as if there were some sort of surface which accumulated these things and preserved them, and that's me. But you see, this superstition is related to a much more ancient superstition, that the world consists of two elements, one of which is stuff and the other of which is form. This is a myth based on a model of the world which is fundamentally ceramic. God formed Adam out of the dust of the ground. And so there is a stuff, and so there are forms engraved in it or imposed on it or stamped on it like a seal is stamped on wax. What is stuff like apart from form? What is form like apart from stuff? All those problems which have bothered people for centuries are based on asking the question in the wrong way, on having used the wrong image for the process. Actually, since nobody ever saw a piece of shapeless stuff, and nobody ever saw a piece of stuffless shape, the whole thing really is saying that they are the same. And there isn't any necessity even to think of a difference between them. Even the contrasting words, form and substance, or form and matter, are a nuisance. There is process. There is the flow of thought. And the flow of thought doesn't have to happen to anyone. Experience does not have to beat upon an experiencer. There is all the time simply the one stream going on, and we are convinced that we stand aside from it and observe it, because we've been brought up that way. But you know, in your stream of thought and experience, I am an object, and a very fleeting and passing one. And consequently also in my stream of experience, you also are people who come and go. We are all, you see, living in the same world. We think there is me and there is an external world round me, but I am in your external world and you are in my external world. And if you think about that, you see we are all in one world, going along together. There isn't really the internal and the external. There is simply the process.
It is a fact that we have the most evolved neurological system compared to a worm, insect, bird, animal, anybody. But we also have a psychological process. Whatever your psychological process, your thought and emotion, is only happening because of a certain amount of information that you gathered, isn't it? Oh, you think she's a wonderful person, so certain kind of thought. Oh, you think she's not nice, another kind of thought. Oh, you think this is somebody else. With all this information, whatever you have gathered, whether it's right or wrong, it doesn't matter. The type of information you've gathered determines the type of thought and type of emotion that you have, isn't it? This is one thing, if you teach human beings to understand your psychological process is entirely your drama. It's got nothing to do with reality, is it so? Your psychological drama has nothing to do with the reality here. 100 people can be sitting here and everybody in their own psychological space, and they're in 100 different worlds, they're not in this world. So, I have an empty head, nothing. So I'm in this world. So because I'm only in this world, I'm paying attention to everything. I have nothing going in my head. If I sit in one place, once in a way, when I take a break, 4 or 5 days, if I close myself up, I don't have a single thought in my mind. I don't read, I don't watch television, I don't write, I don't do anything, I don't even look out of the window. Not a single thought on my mind. Because psychological process is just a small drama which has gotten magnified simply because you've gotten so identified with it. It's like this. People always come up to me and say, Sadhguru, I want to meditate, but the thoughts are coming. I ask them, see, I will teach you another kind of meditation where your kidney function will stop, your liver function will stop, your heart function will stop. Are you interested? No, no, no. Then what, you want your brain function to stop? Why? See, when you sit and meditate, your kidney is functioning, liver is functioning, heart is functioning, you have no issue. Only if your brain functions, you have a problem. Yes? Why is that? Because you are not so identified with your kidney function, but you're super identified with your thought process and emotion. Because you're so identified with it, you think it's you. Because of that, now it has obliterated your experience of life. Tell me in 24 hours' time, how many moments are there beyond thought you looked at something? For most people, there isn't a single moment. Some people have few moments. I have just a few moments of thought. Rest of the time, I'm just like the sky. Simply there, just life. If you're just… are you life? Tell me properly, are you really life? Yes, your life, isn't it? Because I am life, I have a body, I have a thought, I have an emotion, I have a home, I have this, and so many things. All accessories. But you're experiencing the accessories. But is there experience of life on a daily basis? You're misunderstanding your psychological drama as life, isn't it? Your psychological drama is your drama, maybe badly directed, but see, when it's badly directed, people suffer it. When it's well directed, they enjoy it, isn't it? Hello? Yes. So your psychological drama is yours, you can play it, nothing wrong with it. It's like we start playing a game, we are on a tennis court. But somewhere, you hit the ball, you enjoy it, you hit the ball, you enjoy it. After some time, you keep the racket down and go, isn't it? Right now with this game, you're not able to stop. Just imagine, suppose you started playing tennis and you can't stop 24 hours. How you would suffer tennis? That's all that's happening right now. Your psychological process has become unstoppable. It's simply on and on and on. So the simplest solution for this is, don't try to stop it because you're not trying to stop kidneys and livers and heart and whatever else that's happening, you're all fine with that. Only with brain function you have a problem because of the identification you have. You have misunderstood your thought to be you, isn't it? Whatever your thought is, you think it's you. But your thought is coming from a certain information that you gathered from outside, isn't it? If I wipe out all the memory in you, will you have a thought? No. It is only coming from the type of information you gathered. What type of information you gathered is not all by choice. If you walk in the street, everything that you see, hear, smell, taste and touch gets recorded in your mind, you can't help it. What goes into you as information is not all in your hands, isn't it so? 90% is not in your hands. Simply it's happening all the time because everything that you sense through 5 sense organs is just getting into you and recorded. There is no good, bad, ugly in this, it's just information. Now by your recognition, you say, oh, this is nice and it becomes good. You say this is nasty and it becomes bad. You say this is horrible and then it becomes ugly. This is your doing, but information is simply pouring in and recorded. What you gather, whatever you gather, it can be yours, it cannot be you, isn't it? Hello?
Yeah.
I can say, this is my chair, but if I say this is me, you will think I've gone crazy, isn't it? Right now, that's all that's happened. What you gather, you start thinking it is you. Let me go a little more basic. The body, this body, were you born like this? No. You came like this and now you became this much. How did this happen? Just the food that you've eaten, isn't it? Or it's just the earth that we're walking upon which became food and now it's like this. Countless number of people like you and me have walked on this planet. They were also smart people. Where are they now? They're all topsoil. So will this become? Yes or no? Unless your friends bury you real deep, fearing that you may rise from the dead. Otherwise, this will also become topsoil. Well, we don't want to go today, but inevitably we go, isn't it? So this is just the soil which turned into food, we consumed this food and made it into this body. Or is it true that this body is an accumulation over a period of time? Hello?
Yeah.
It is. What you accumulate can be yours. Can it ever be you?
No.
Whatever you accumulate, at the most you can claim it is mine. I will not dispute that right now, a day will come. But you cannot say it's me, isn't it? Whatever you accumulate can never ever be you. If this becomes a living experience for you, that what you have accumulated in the form of food and in the form of information, you clearly know this is not me, then you will become like me. Simply looking at life as it is, without being influenced by anything, without being identified with anything. Simply life. Is that true? Fundamentally, you're just a life. Then you gathered a certain body, so we called you a man. Then you gathered some kind of stuff in you, so we called you this, that and everything. But essentially, are you just life? And is that the most important thing right now, that you're alive right now is the most important thing in your life, is that so?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes.
But unfortunately, that's not in focus. Today, what I'm thinking has become more important than me being alive, isn't it? Hello?
Yes.
My little emotion has become more important than that I'm alive right now. See, today morning sun came up on time. Hello? Yes? Now, you're thinking it's okay, what about it? You know, some time ago, we were flying a helicopter in Tennessee. It was a nice warm day. So we pulled off the doors and we were flying a open helicopter because weather's good. We went up there and suddenly hit a cold front. All that happened is sun got really blocked out by cloud, so it became extremely cold. So cold we had no control, our hands are not steady on the control, so we decided to come down. As we coming down, we just debating, suppose sun doesn't come up tomorrow, what will happen? Maybe in 3 months this will happen, 6 months that will happen, we just guessing. Then I just came and did a little bit of research. If sun does not come up tomorrow, in 18 hours, everything that you know as life on this planet will be gone. Except a few microbial life deep down in the earth, everything else will be gone in 18 hours' time. Just now I gave you a fantastic information. Sun came up on time today morning. I want to hear appropriate noises at least. It's fantastic, it came up on time. And planet is spinning on time.
Yes.
You don't think it's good? No accidents in the solar system, one planet did not clash into another, all are sticking to their lanes. In the entire universe, not a single accident, everything is going fantastic in the universe and in the larger cosmos. But one nasty little thought is crawling in your head and it's a bad day. Everything in the cosmos is going great. One nasty little thought, it's a bad day, isn't it? The problem is we have lost perspective as to who we are. In this cosmos, this solar system is a speck. Yes or no? It's like a speck. Tomorrow morning if the entire solar system evaporates, nobody will notice it. In that speck, planet Earth is a micro speck. In that micro speck, Los Angeles is a super micro speck. In that, you're a big man. That's a serious problem. This is your psychological drama, exaggerating things to a point where you think if you have one bad thought, the whole world is ruined. Because we have gotten identified with the thoughts that we generate, with the emotions that we create, not understanding it's our prerogative to create the kind of thought we want, the kind of emotion we want. If you created the kind of thought you want and the kind of emotion you want, would you not do the best sort of thoughts and the best kind of emotion that a human being is capable of? Yes or no?
Yes.
Then you would function at the peak of humanity. Right now, our own intelligence has turned against us. We don't need any external help. We're just doing fine by ourselves. Yes or no? Simply sitting, standing, rich, poor, every kind is suffering. You ask them, childhood, big problem, diaper problem. Toddler, big problem, lot of mischief. Adolescence, oh my God, too many problems. Middle age, crisis. Old age, terrible. Tell me which time of your life is fantastic. The problem is not anywhere else. The problem is just that we have lost control over our psychological drama. Because the existential drama of life is not in our experience. Our psychological drama is like a cloud blocking up the sun. We don't experience life, we only experience thoughts, emotions, ideas, prejudices and all the rubbish that we can generate. Instead of living in the Creator's creation, we are living in our own petty creation, that's the big thing. I didn't create anything, so I am here in this world